Hello and welcome to another Woodworking Wisdom. So today we've got a little bit of a challenge. Something as a small fold-out type camping table, beach table. You could use it in your garden. What do we use for materials? What could we find? We took a pallet apart where we've taken all the stripped it apart, taken all the nails out nice and carefully. All right. Then from there I've machined it. So I've machined those up. So the material for the slats, this is for the top, is 38mm. By 12mm thick, by whatever length at the moment we've got to cut it to length. For the underframe material is 50 by 25, 2x1. This sort of thing you could go buy if you want from your local hardware store. Your B&Q type thing, so easy to get hold of. Alright, don't have to machine it. Pre-done could be quite nice, and you'll see how much we need. I've got more than enough here. Alright, so first stage we're really going to look at, we don't need the 2x1. Going to want some of the slat material. I need 17 bits, which are 527 long. How am I going to cut 17 by hand? Now you could use whatever you like. You could use your MITRE saw, table saw, hand saw, guide rail maybe, whole range of different things. So I'm going to get in something I made up just for this. Some of you won't have all that fancy equipment. So I've made up just simple cut block, something that you can make up. So I've even labelled it for the sizes we're going to want. So this will make it repeatable, so my material is going to fit down inside in a minute. And we can accurately then repeat cut them, so you've got no excuses. Some of you guys are going, oh, I haven't got my saw. You could do it like this. All right, so all we've got, like I say, is pre-cut lengths. I've measured it. I've got a stop on this end. I've got a couple of scrap bits underneath just to raise things up. So for this to work, I want 3 bits. Okay. Hoping, and let's have a quick check. We need a square. This end I can see has got break lines, so let's see what that one's like. We're going to check the other end. How square is it? A little bit here. Okay, so the first thing I've got to do is cut some and square up my ends. So if I put the 3 in, I'm coming down to minimal length that way. Yep. Right, now we can see how we got that clamped in. Just going to bring this into there. Get there flat, square. Then we want something as a saw. So I can go Japanese saw. I'm going to rip cut one on here, this side. So we can drop that into our slot. What we're going to do. First stage, we've squared up the ends. Then we're going to move them up to the length stop. Clamp back in. I've got my measurements written on the face facing me, so 280, 452, 527 is the third one along. This one up here. So you can see how we can get all of those cut. So we need 17, so I'm going to keep going and get those cut. So at the moment we have our 17 bits, which are there, which are longer. They are 527 long. 2 shorter bits, which are 452. Okay, so we cut all those. Now the box makes it quick and simple. If you haven't got something like a MITRE saw, you can cut them, but you also make them repeatable. So we got our 17, which hopefully should look pretty good, all the same length. And then they've got the 2 here, which are just a little bit shorter. Okay, so that's done. Next thing we want is the long rails out the 2x1. So the material for our long rails, all right, this is the underside, this is out the 2x1. So I got that. I've cut an end square, so again I can use my box. I'll do these one at a time. I'm going to move, or put in a new little support bar, just an underneath so they're the same thickness to raise it up. These, like I say, I've got to do singly. Something just to add a bit of a spacer so we can clamp it. Don't have to clamp it. 717, that's right down here, that's good. Find the side of that saw, put it in the slot, got one, just need to do the other one now. So again, up against the lunch stop, far end, clamp it in, just really means I don't have to hold it as much. Take our saw, find a blade again. Let's move our box just for a second. I want to set something as a measurement. Now we know these 50mm. I'm going to come up 20mm up there. Going to be quite quick and simple with this. I could even use my finger as a gauge. Put a line, okay? We then want 45 degrees square. If I can bring that up. Got a corner point. Do the same the other end. Right, so you end up with something at 45 on there, same the other end. Right, so we put something just as a bench hook in here. These I'm just going to cut freehand. So I've got my angle nice and lightly with our saw. This is Japanese pole saw, so I've got a cut coming towards me. There's one. Another one, going to be a little bit more fiddly because I've got to come out wide. So, got to repeat the same for the other one. A little bit to go on that. So we got our rails were 45. At this point, there's no point in sanding it yet. We could sand them up later. We can clean up the saw cut, take the sharp edges off. But at the moment, we've still got quite a bit to do to these. These are our main bits for the table. I want to make something now as a stop board. Something stood up in the vise. Make sure it's high enough. I need to come up a little bit. And make sure it's equal. I want an offset now. I've still got some of our scrap material for the slats. That's the right width. I want 38mm. So this will go in. Alright, let's just have a look at which way it's going to sit better. Like I say, I know I've got a little bit of spring to it. I could even sheet a little bit. Simple to do. Why not clamp it up? So this will pull this back to straight. It's going to stop it moving. We know our stop board will work. Let's just take that. We're going to position the slats. You want to get them equally. Normally I might start one end, but it'd be nicer to start in the middle, and then we can come out. We know we have 17, so it is an odd number. I'm just marking our centre. It is in there. We can do pencil line. Haven't gone all the way across the other one. So if we actually turn it round, let's hope my maths is okay. A little bit out, look, tiny bit, which will tell me the middle is the centre of those two. Should be better. Bit of a heavy line now, but okay. There we go. Good. From there, on this one, I just want to come down fractionally. Going to make it tricky to see in a minute though. Go to there. Then I'm going to go back into our clamp up position. This is all going to look a little bit long-winded, but actually should make my life just a little bit easier to find that middle. So I've taken my line back up to here. Alright, simple little thing just to gauge back. This is our middle pattern at the moment. Can we find the centre of this? Now again, I'm being quick, we could go with marking gauge or pencil gauge. I've now got a position of where that needs to be, middle. Alright, I can line that up. So you see how quick and easy you can make this without lots of fancy tools. Going to drill these so they will go onto and be screwed down. So how are we going to drill them? We want 2 screws per batten. Also want them set in the same amount. Want them to look accurate. We've got to do the same on all of them. So 17 with 2 screws. Okay, you start doing the maths, it gets complicated. So about make up something just as a simple little drilling jig. So all this was glued together with a little bit of super glue. I've got table slats, main ones, short ones for underneath in a minute. If I turn it over, you understand where these are going. Let's have the one we want. We can put it into there. I can do two at a time. This is giving me the right offset between the line to come up to find our middle. So a block, we've obviously located it. We slid the 2 battens up. I've got a scrap piece just in behind. If I flip it over, I can use the end vise. I've got table slots. That's the ones we want, main ones. 4mm drill. We can drill through. Nice and quick, nice and accurate. So, done there. Carefully take things apart so I don't drop it all on the floor. Can turn it over. Back in, check they both go up to the lamp stop. Clamp, block. Clamp, trying to put the clamp in underneath. Keeps it out the way of the drill. Clamp it up. So we're drilling both ends. Again, like I said earlier, you could go colour drill. That's quite quick and easy. Make them all repeatable. So having obviously drilled some of the holes, we can start to fix these. We've got centre point. We know that will come over to our line where we've got to be. Okay, we can locate that quite simply. And you kind of get the idea with this as a project. It hasn't got to be really, really accurate. I'm going to go stainless steel screws. They won't corrode, won't rust. They won't tarnish, they won't spoil the bit of wood. Alright. We've pilot drilled these so the things don't split. Quite important. So we know the middle one's got to be in that position. I'm also using a depth stop type drive. Okay, so I've got torque fitting inside which I can change depending on the size of the screw head. I've really locked up the 2 collars so that these will undo and there's a rubber bung in between. Tighten it up. Really nice and tight. You need to do a practice bit to get your position so it will go into the depth you want. So before you start banging onto the job, start having a play, see where things are. Line it up. I'm going to bring the torque setting right back round. We're dealing with some pine. I can load the screw, bring it down. A little bit more on my torque setting, so bring it up. Flush. Next one, exactly the same. Load it right. There's our magnet. So our depth board on the side here helps keep things square. We've got our middle line. We want a spacer. Now I've worked out I need about 4mm. Now if that's 4mm, okay, so what have I got? I've got over some plywood. 4.14, it's not bad. Got some perspex, 3.8, that would be good. So we can bring it together. Alright, now with my perspex just as a guide, I'm going to actually go trim this in a minute. We'll cut a bit off, make it easier to locate in there. But you can see how we can use something as a bit of perspex, a bit of plywood. You could cut something exactly 4mm if you like. So let's drop this in, so a little bit of perspex in. We could do other side, but at the moment they're okay. It's pulling up nice and square. You can see the idea of the limp stop board. You can see the idea of clamping it back. I'm not chasing it around the bench now. Nice and flush head. Nice and equal again. There we've got a little bit. Alright, good. Then all we're going to do, keep going. So we'll space them out, next one, and work across. Okay, so one side done, fixed down. Look, they look nice and straight down through. They look pretty level. That's great. So at this stage, carefully, just going to flip it up. Let's drop that just back down. We've got over rail. We've got our centre line again. We know we can bring that in. We do exactly the same as we did before. Now we can use our square to project that down. Pretty good there. Again, we can clamp it in place to stop it moving around the bench. So we've got centre line, we know our centre point back on here. So if I carefully turn around what we've got, realign it, back down to here, got to find our middle one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That one there. Weirdly, haven't got a line on there. Got a little bit of cap off that far side now. So we're going to play with that in a second. Just to help me, let's go back in, ruler. I thought we put a mark on this, I expect it's on the underside. 38 is 19. Double check. Okay, good. Just to give us something to realign that with. Just because I know I've got a little bit of cut. I can see it's bending there. Let's pull these back in. There you go, that looks better. Get our line back over. That means I don't have to fight it quite as much with. Pin it down. Then we do the same down the other end. Just trying to make sure things pull up nicely down here. Try and keep things straight again. Let's get our spacer in the right position. Want it in there. Just really using the clamp as a way of holding everything still, so I don't have to panic. Try and push against it. Going to line up the last one. It can't be a lot different than where it is now. And then we've got to go from the centre outwards on the other side. Just start down here now, so again, spacer back in. Okay, so one main tabletop. Okay, so we've got those fixed down. Hopefully you can see it looks pretty good, quite straight down through. So we've got our sides all on. That gives us our top. From there we're going to flip this over. Okay, we don't need those, they were two spacers, let's just put them back there. We've got our shorter battens we cut There's 2 of those. They need fixing. Either end. We can use our same drilling guide we've got. I've got the holes that are a little bit further up. So it's that short under. So they will give me a position so I can drill those exactly the same as we just did. So we're going to load those up inside. Check they go right up to the stop. Looks quite square, that's good. Block in behind, just really stop any breakout. And I'm just going to clamp the whole lot together. I can bring the clamp down this time because I want the top holes to stay short. Exactly the same down the other end. So we have our holes drilled. That bit we just used for a block, let's just clamp that in. That'll give us a nice flush surface to work to again. Screws, so I'm coming up level with our chamfer cut. That's good there. Going to come down to the other end. We can do the same. Just lining that up. One side done. They finish nice and flush. Make it easier for me to get to. We can clamp a little block in. Bigger clamp just to come across, just to pull everything up nicely. This end actually weirdly was a bit sprung open. So it's nice to have that clamp on just to hold there. They finish nice and flush. Let's just move the clamps out. Fine frame, but all done. Let's put that out of the way for a second. Get our cut board back in. So we want our pine batten again. We've got a square end on that end. Put that in. Let's just check they're going to sit level. Clean the dust out there. Somebody uses a clamp board and a clamp. I shall just pull this in just a little bit. That's good. Check we're sat level, and again we can cut these off. So where are we? We need 4. That looks cleaner end. And just pinning it in. So I can use that spacer block. Clamp that up. Just checking we're down to the lamp stop. We're a little bit off, so let's move it back. So again, finer side to the slot. Really, just goes. So we got our 4 quite short now, don't they? Little table legs. A couple more bits still to cut on this, but let's mark them up first. Something 1/2 inch thick. I've got that. So I've got to come around to there. I can do the same this side. Now you could measure this with a marking gauge. Right, this is the top end of, so I'm going to do the same on this one. Either side. chop on bottom. Gonna have that as the chop. It's got a little bit of a knot that comes through that side, so again we're using that just as a 1/2 inch spacer. This has got a couple of nail holes from where we had it in the pallet, so try and have those up the top out of the way. So we've marked all of those. Come back to our 45-degree square now. So let's bring them up there. Right, so hopefully you can see what we've got. I'll take those off. So Japanese marking square for this is really nice, just to put on the edge. Makes it easier to hold. Right, so we've got to cut those off. I've set up marking gauge, but with penciling. So traditionally this would have been a cutting gauge with a knife, but I've taken the little knife out. I can find my middle quite quick and easily. The reason for using a pencil for this, I don't leave a score mark, so it's not going to actually dig in too much. Then all I want to do, the bottom, put a line on here, just going to double check that's central. And that bigger knot up here, it's going to be out the way, but that one there. So this one can loose. It's okay, this has got the nail holes, outside looks better. Not a lot in this, okay. So there. Now I need to set up positions up of, so I want 38. 38 mil actually. I'm going to be quick and simple in my measuring. I could go with my block of wood, we know, a machine to 38. We could even go to ruler. Mark those up. And then we want another one set out for 62. So we'll bring this up like that. Again, using the pencil really just to fit a bit quicker. We could clamp the 4 together, but okay, so we got our marks. First thing we can do, cut those edges off again. We did it earlier, so just wondering if we go back to a back saw, but we've been using this. Let's go. Using the finger now, get the start position. The board underneath just gives me something to pull against. I can drop back in my groove now, I've got it. Well, just clashing on my board, so I move it forward a little bit. So we need all 4, just fighting with. Need to round these over just a little bit. So we can go Japanese rasp. Pushing up. And this is just really about softening the corners in a little bit. So I've got a little bit more to do, just on there. That's sorry, it's better. It doesn't need to be exactly half a circle, but let's just blend that in. So where are we? We've got our 4 rails, got our curves. So now we've got to drill a few holes. It's easier to obviously do this before they're put together. So we need a 10mm drill, and we're going to use some magnets that we've got to put into that hole. 16mm drill to do the top hole, so the dowel will fit. Right, so this is going across, then we've got some holes to drill up near the top. So let's drill first the hole, let's set a few things up. So drill bit, 3mm. Other important thing, keep an eye on where the magnets go. Some masking tape. 3mm. Tricky to measure off a magnet. Just going to play with a scrap bit. Try and gauge how deep we go, just trying to see how clean a hole we get. That was faster speed. Getting a little bit fluff because the type of pine. Secret weapon then. A little bit of tape. Just going to pin these on here. I can still see through. Right, we might need it for the top ones, but at the moment, hold at 38. I want a bit of tape on here. Just trying to see where the magnets go. So I'm playing around with a bit of tape. We can fill in a little bit under the magnet, but we're trying to get it nice and flush. That's not bad. So bring our tape round. Going to loop it, pin it together there. We haven't got to go in very far. Down to my depth. If this gets stuck in when I push it, we can crack it out, which is in a minute. I want a tiny little bit more than what I am. That's good. That gives me a guide point. Something to spot mark it. So I'm using small drill. Down to our depth. Again, we're doing this really basic. It's a quick check. I push it in, and these have got to be stuck in when we finish. This one I think needs, oh no, that one's good. First hole done. So having got the 10mm, I can change to the 16mm that we have. I've marked out one side quite easy at this stage, just to not that round. It's only a pencil. So this from my point of view is more a design thing of, I don't want to see that dowel from the outside edge. We have our centre point. We've changed our drill. A bit more tight. How deep do we want to go? We don't want to go all the way through. That's why we've just changed that line and moved it over. Again, a little bit of tape. Slightly bigger drill. We can pinpoint the middle again. So we've used drill bit. That'll give me a spur point if I'm careful. Good thing with the pine, it's quite soft. Start the drill. Just checking our depth. That's good. So we have magnet hole, rail hole that hopefully our dowel's going to sit into. This stage is a guide. As our 25 is halfway there, I want to be back just a little bit. So I've come back to 23 from the end. Alright. So if I draw a line, we can measure up. Up there, just a tiny bit. We need to find our centre point again. Table rail, the idea with this has got to go into here. We've got to check our position from there, where it's going to go. We know it needs to come over just a little bit. It's also got to come up a little bit. So the idea with this, with the fact that it will swing from there, come down without moving, go in, same with the other end. Alright, so just really laying out that position now where that is. We want a little bit of angle on the bench. Get to there, we can do our bolt hole. Need something to bolt this together with. So these are metric. Well, just checking the length. Have some washers. We'll need a block in a minute to go on here. But first thing I want to check, size of that bolt hole. So smaller drill, that looks quite good. Before I run into the job and play, how about we just do test hole. Don't want too much play, want it to go in. It might need pushing in. That'll work. First one. Just really want to lay it out so if we do shoot through and the pine's relatively soft that I'm using, that we have something underneath it. This hole's got to go all the way through. Again, going to do something just to help pinpoint it. Got our location. Trying to check something that looks squarish. Okay, not always easy. Again, pillar drill should be good. Got to drill 4. Checking our position we can drill through. Now we drilled 1. We can kind of cheat. Put the 2 together. Got our location. Clamp it. Line them up. Just enough. So again, we're lining up on the top edge. We have our holes. Using the ruler, which has given me that offset of where we took off that 25, so we've come down to 23. That'll jack it up just a little bit. I want to angle these slightly. So it might be the chance to get something as a sliding bevel set up. I can start to check our angle here. See where things are. We can check what angle we've got. How's that look? If we wanted to come back a bit more, that would be good. We're going to come back, rest up against there, and we can play around with our angle that we get. Why do we want this? Because then we can actually set up from the other side, turn it round to do the other legs. So this is really just playing around with what you're happy with as an angle. Okay. Lock it off. Set it up. See where we are now. I've got that there. Let's have that clamp on there. Just get to the hole. We can double check. Okay, so what that's given us is the position off of this rail, the location for the hole. So we're just lining the drill up. Now we've got a couple of things we can check on here. Just get the drill in. It's a bit tight. I'm looking at, do I look parallel across the board? I can actually use the slats that we've glued or screwed on. So that looks good. So I'm not wiggling too much here. I'm lining up for the a little bit more. Should be enough easily now. Now all the way through. Our bolt. So I come in, first leg in. Just going to turn this up so hopefully you can see where we are. We just have a little square head just on the underside of the bolt. So we need to punch that in. So, give that a tap. So we push that in. Next thing I need to do, I want a washer in between it. Like, and the nut. I'm going to check that. Right. At this stage, we've got the dowel hole facing you, the magnet hole outwards. So we drilled it. We'll take the block off, make sure we keep the leg the same way. Our bolt goes in. We need to tap that in. Washer. Probably need to take this apart a little bit again in a minute. And put that on. We can probably pull that ruler out now and put it the other side for a sec. washer again. At the moment, just going with a standard nut. I'll swap this in a minute for a nylock. The reason for going for a standard one, I've got to take it apart. So it's just be good just to have that bolted up. At this stage, let's put the ruler in there. We can fold those two down. See how they go. Getting a little bit of touch on this corner, so again I might need to take that out and get that. Just touching, just on there, pinching a little bit. Let's spin this round. Do the same over here now. Same way, facing out. Going to put our block in. Just going to temporarily hold this. We're sat on that ruler that's giving us that lift a little bit. That means we can then get back in with the sliding bevel. Set that up. Check we're down the ruler. Tighten it up. We've got our hole. Bolt in. Again, got to go around the other way. Forgot the washer. Washer just creates a little bit of spacer gap. Check that will go over. Again, standard nut for a minute. Pinch it up. Last one to do. Just down on here, checking where our dowel hole is. That's got to go in. Block. Clamp it in place. Check it, I'm not blocking the screw or the hole we want to get to. Got to move that a little bit, I can feel that. Just that I know I've got to come back quite a bit on there. Going checking our angle. Okay, so just pin that in. Just checking on parallel my board a little bit. Just picking the battery up on the drill, that's better. So I'm looking at those flaps whilst I'm pulling across. Bar back in there. Tap the bolt in, that gives it a good location, stops it spinning in a second. Find a washer, move the ruler. Check our position. That way round we'll do another washer. Right, okay, at this stage, just checking how things fold. Look, we've got a tight spot on this one, so I might need a bit more material for here. That's easy enough to get. That one goes down. This one I've got a tight spot right on where the knot is, so I know about that. Okay, so we can play with those. Like I said, in a minute we can change these to nylocks. What I don't want is too much wobble this way, vertically at the moment. So I've just tightened those. Let's just bring it round. I want to get an idea of our measurement here. We have 402 mil. Okay, that's got to come in quite a bit. Now I wonder, I think my clamp I've just grabbed probably going to be just a little bit heavy, but just a little bit of finger pressure on there. Trying to pull this so we're equal. A little bit. We're double checking now, a little bit. Okay. Good. Still got a little bit to come in. Might suggest my drill holes aren't dead straight. That's better. So once we've got it together at this stage, I want to measure our internal of our hole. So we go with a bit of dowel, our pencil, put it in. Put that in. We can then mark, if I hold it still, our pencil, do a mark up on there. Right, simple little thing to do. This is giving me the internal depth between those two holes. Nice and accurate. Major thing we've checked at this stage is the distance is equal. Once we've still got it together, how about we just tape that together. Right, so now we've got our length on our pencil mark. We can go to there, around. I'm checking I'm equal on the end. I can draw a line. So we've got pencil mark equal to that. So we've set this up for our internal, set to our length. Okay. Real quick and easy one to do. So I've just put a mark on the dowel, number one, put a mark on the leg stitch. We're going to do the same this end as well now. Let's just check our tightness here a little bit. First thing we need to do, unclip that, put it up on there. A little bit of tension. Measure 400. Double check. That's pretty good. These should be pretty much the same, but let's put them in, let's double check. This time I can use that tape, we've got it on there, so measure those into 2 internals. Now I've got the issue now, look, I've got to get it apart, put the tape on. Whilst it's not glued, we can do that, that'll be good. Do exactly the same. Okay, need a saw, which we have. There it is. Alright, we've got to look at this one and the one on the opposite corner. I know it's this side, looks a bit steep. So I'm just going to go back in, let Japanese rust, take off just a little bit more. I know, just about okay, still a bulge just on that bottom edge that I haven't quite got. And checking where my dowel hole is in the top. Have a washer, do I have a washer, nylock. So the nylock just means it won't come undone. We still got to get our dowel rail in. Down with the one on it, it's got to go in there. Like that one, pulls that out. Now these we can probably glue in place. I've got another option, we could put a screw in from the outside. I can't quite get it in this hole this end. Let's have a look first. Maybe we'll do that one first. Ooh, tighter there. That's good. And that one in. In, we want to check their move. Check how they move, a little bit tight, that's just there. Okay. Just going to flip it round. What have we got on here? We've got no look on there, got dowel in. Okay, took. Got to push that together. They go in. Okay. So at this stage, like I said, we could have glued these. They would need gluing or screwing together. Okay. At the moment, I'm leaving them dry. Just really tight. This one's a little bit tight. We've still got our magnets to go in. So we've still got those holes to do. So let's just pull the tape off of there. I can feel that dragging that far side. So let's have a look at our magnet point. I'll bring round and push that down. 1, 2, On there. I've got to reach. I can see the dot mark I've got. And there, and there. Right, so with the marking gauge or pencil gauge we can draw our centre line again. I'll get a bit more comfortable. Wonder if we can stand this up. Does mean I've got to come round a little bit on the front. Coming down, double check. Again, I'm using the slats in the background here to give me an idea of where square looks. Just by altering. I can't alter the drill a lot more from where we are. So I'm hoping we've got our 3mm. Flip it over. So magnets that we're going to go in. Whilst it's held in here, it'd just be nice to. These got to go in a little bit of super glue, okay? If you find they're not going right, and you probably want some gel type super glue, I can push them in, but the glue will be good. Why am I not sticking them in now? I want to sand this up a little bit, get rid of the pencil lines, but quite an easy thing to do. Put a little bit of super glue in there, I'll get it out, let's get it there, okay? So we super glue them in. Got 4 there, we've got the ones on the leg, we know we've got to take our tape off of here. Exactly the same scenario. I might want to get rid of the pencil lines. You might want to give it a light sand. Here, like I say, you could even screw these if you want. Let's just flip that over just a little bit. So we've even got a crossover mark we put on earlier, so we can actually do pilot hole just on there, and we can put wood screw in just to hold that down from either end. You could glue it. Problem with gluing it, if anything gets damaged, it's more problematic to take it apart. If we just threw a screw, would be really good. And then we know, obviously, in these, you've got your magnet in there as well. So when they come down, they'll lock in place, magnet on magnet. Obviously, you might need to check which way your magnets are. Okay, so there you go. Let's fold these out. We've obviously got a few things just to finish up. We've got to glue it up a little bit if you want to. We've got to put those magnets in. Got to do something as a finish, really. You want to wheel it or whatever you like to use as an external thing. You could leave it natural, but it'd be better to have something on there if you're going to leave it outside. Obviously, stainless steel screws are going to really help. They won't corrode or rust, which is a benefit with this, okay? We recycled a pallet, something a bit different again, okay? So it gives you the scope of, doesn't have to be anything expensive in material. Other thing I wanted to do with this is take it right down to basic tools. Cordless drill, handsaw, doesn't have to be anything fancy. Lots of us have got those fancy things, but there's lots of people that haven't. So this is a starter type project that maybe you could do for, maybe even get the kids involved in. It's not that difficult, huh? But something quite nice. Obviously, you know, you've got it, it'll roll over, we can fold it up. Everything goes together quite nicely, all right? Very basic project. Hope you've enjoyed. Give us the thumbs up. Maybe hit the subscribe button, let us know what you think, okay? We'll be back for more woodworking wisdom soon. Thanks very much. Bye then.